Welcome back, guys, to another...
And this is part number 14 today for our F1 24 career mode. This one for the Belgian Grand Prix at the brand new Spa on this game. So very exciting to try it out for the very first time in a career mode setting. If you guys did miss the previous episode at the Hungaroring, then be sure to go check the one out before you see this one, as we had an iconic duel with Max Verstappen. It's always a very tough fight when you go up against Verstappen, and especially so when you have to save fuel whilst you try and do it and get to the end of the race. But we successfully defended Verstappen. It wasn't easy. It was very, very touch and go at times. So close to the margins and a real lifelike fight, but we did it. We got our second ever win in our career, and it wasn't just an important one for ourselves as an individual. It was important for our teammate Lando to help him out a bit, to try and limit the damage effectively after he had a poor qualifying. He had to make up positions and did eventually try and maximize his position, but also we played a part, at least, you know, not giving Max those extra 7 points in this title fight. Things were pretty damn close going to Hungary. Now they're a little bit spaced out, as Max did still gain obviously some points there, but as you can see, there's still such a long way to go. We're kind of in the heart of the European portion of the season, and really McLaren has been the team in form. You know, we've won 4 races in a row. Yes, 3 of those have been Lando, and then I've added my 1 here, but that is really quite impressive to say that, you know, at the start of the season Verstappen had not been off the podium until the Monaco Grand Prix. So you can really see actually there, looking at the results, how much momentum that I always bang on about in career mode, you know, for the last couple of years, especially since we got the focus mechanic with the AI. But it's just because it's so true. Momentum is literally one of the biggest factors when it comes to how drivers are doing in the season. You can see once Max had that wobble, it's not been the same as it was at the start of the year. And yet currently he still leads the Drivers' Championship. So it's just showing how tough of an opposition that is going to be for Lando, and why he might need us to try and back him up. But we've got a new rivalry with Lance Stroll, and Elena emails us to tell us about the new rivalry, and then almost immediately, because it's the next email up, she replies to that same thread and goes, I need to step it up because Stroll is starting to show us up, and we're going to be left behind. We've only just begun the bloody rivalry at the end of last episode. What do you want about, Lena? At this rate, every character I liked at the start of the series, I'm going to end up hating, and the opposite will be the other way, because obviously lately I've been warming up to Colin as one of our specialists, because, you know, we're one of the few that with him that we're above into level 1 as we continue our pursuit to gain as much of these perks as we can. We're still flagging a bit in the power unit consultant department and other departments as well, and to be honest, I'm not going to pick either of these goals with Marcel there, because I don't feel confident enough to do that. And of course, if you pick one and don't achieve it, that's actually a negative to your specialist to get to that next level and lock that perk. So just being a bit wise with what ones I'd choose, because, you know, Marcel's one was quite difficult in terms of I can't guarantee I might outqualify Lando or beat him in the race. You know, that's still very much not a guarantee, even though, you know, we did brilliantly last episode. You know, as the rivalry screen clearly shows, in the rivalry with Lando, he is still thoroughly beating us, and our character still looks clinically depressed in the background. And at the moment, we look pretty depressed as well behind Lance Stroll, who's grinning away because he's winning the rivalry, even though we've not even turned a lap. So I think the game needs to calm down a little bit with the warnings. We've, you know, we're not even got started yet on trying to match him, basically. But unfortunately, going into the weekend, the ERS upgrade has failed, and that would have been really useful around Spa. You know, long straight, it's a compromising circuit in terms of high speed and then downforce, but also low drag setup on the straight. So more ERS power and a better battery use would have been really useful, but unfortunately that's going to have to wait now to the next episode. So onwards we go to qualifying.
High-speed straights, heady elevation changes and dramatic corners. What is there not to love about today? It's qualifying day here at Spa-Francorchamps.
Excited for the racing in this one as we come to the new Spa for the first time inside of the career mode on F1 24. And we might be enjoying the racing actually a lot more in terms of passing cars, overtake galore, because we are going to have to take engine penalties in this race. I kind of alluded to this last episode, if you were paying attention, that we are on our last ICE, and we've got so long of the season to go, so there's no getting away from the fact that at some point we would have to take a penalty to change out that ICE. Now, just like in real life, here in the game, Spa is always a really good place to take an engine penalty, because you can overtake here with the right setup as well. You can really fly past people, and that's what we've done here in qualifying and into the race with Part Fermier. Of course, I've put down the rear wing quite a fair bit in comparison to the front wing, but I've decided to change the ICE in this race weekend. And I figured, because we're changing one, we're probably going to need others. Let's just take them all, because this really is a place where I would even back ourselves to make overtakes, despite it being quite difficult to catch, groups so far in this career mode. I've literally complained about that before, but I'm so confident in the fact that, like in real life, Spa is a great place to do that. It's the main reason why you always see Verstappen taking a penalty if he needs to at Spa, because it's just such a circuit that, as long as you have the pace, you can just repass the cars. You should be getting ahead anyway. So with that, we're going to fast forward a little bit through the qualifying segment and just get straight to Q3, basically. This was the Q2 result. Basically because, for us, none of this matters. We're going to the back of the grid, so I basically just wanted to go out there and set a good lap, because I was conscious of still gaining a pace on my overall rating. So unlike other F1 games where I would have just skipped qualifying, I actually have the forethought of, no, we still need to qualify well, actually, even if we are going to the back, because the game mechanics, I don't believe, sense when you've got a penalty. Like, they don't factor that into your qualifying position. So I want to try and qualify well still, just to gain that pace stat, knowing, unfortunately, that also probably that pace stat will go down then in the race because of the current glitch with the fastest lap attribute. So I'm trying to negate that as much as I can by gaining the pace stat here in qualifying, basically. But we went into Q3, very overcast conditions, you might have noticed, compared to Q1 and Q2. I even asked on the radio about weather coming in, some rain or whatever. No, just a cloudier time here around Spa for the last part of this Saturday, as we now navigate the final two corners, which are a lot more calmer now post the 1.3 patch across the line. It's second place, but we're nearly 0.4 of a second off Verstappen. We were so closely matched together at the Hungaroring, but it would seem here that Max has found an extra gear in that Red Bull. Ferrari maybe as well, because Sainz is up there, and it's another slightly subpar qualifying from Lando, as he didn't do too well at the Hungaroring either, so that's a little bit of a concern for him, because now I won't be there to take points off Max. So if Lando wants to keep the pressure on of chasing after Verstappen in the championship, he's going to have to recover from a lower grid spot himself, whereas we are taking all these penalties because, the IC were on the last column, but we may as well, at a place like this, just take everything and save myself other penalties later on. It just makes way more mathematical sense just to do them all in one race like this and be covered, hopefully, for the rest of the season. So let's get into a race where we're going to be at the back of the grid.
Welcome to this visit to the Ardennes countryside. Spa-Francorchamps hosted its first Grand Prix back in 1925, and this historic track is loved by drivers and fans alike, and us here in the commentary box too. So it's a warm welcome from the Belgian Grand Prix. Spa-Francorchamps then, a historic 19-corner circuit with a lap distance of 4.35 miles. There's over 100 metres of elevation change here, and with long stretches of the lap spent flat out, a good top speed will be vital for success. It's time to take a look at our starting grid for today's race. World champion Max Verstappen starts from pole position, and the smooth operator Carlos Sainz completes the front row. Looking down the rest of the grid, we have Perez, Norris, Fernando Alonso, Hamilton, Stroll, Russell, Gasly, Ricciardo, Leclerc, Hülkenberg, Ocon, Tsunoda, Zhou, Albon, Bottas, Magnussen, Sargent, and a McLaren rounds off the grid. It's almost time for the lights to go out, so let's head down to the track where preparations are underway. And alongside me today is a man who needs no introduction, but I'll try anyway. It's Ant Davidson. I know what we've got to do before the start of today's race, but what about our driver? What do the final hours look like for them?
Well, for them, you've got your pre-race rituals that you go through. You see different drivers that, some have got their headphones on, they're listening to the music. Some drivers really absorb the energy from the crowd and they're there waving to them. Other drivers, they go within themselves. They chat to their engineers, absorbing that information, that vital information that you need to carry you through the race. And, those pre-race rituals are essential to making things systematic. We do a lot of Grand Prix in a season, and the more systematic you can be, the easier you are within that environment.
Okay, this is going to take a monumental effort from you. I need you to push incredibly hard if we're going to get a good result today. Let's go and make it happen.
Highly motivating words there from Mark, our engineer, as we line up dead last, P20 on the grid. For this race ahead. Overcast conditions, but I don't believe there's any rain to come, which is probably going to be in our favour, because if there was some rain, I don't know how we would perform. My rear wing is very low, so rain would have really derailed us in terms of that downforce on the rear end. And I'm hoping that setup today will allow us to fly past some people. Interesting choice from a lot of the people outside the top 10. They've all opted for a soft compound of tyre they've not used in Q3, of course. So tyre wear, at least for the AI, they're not seeming like it will be quite high. I've chosen to start mediums because, of course, we did do Q3 anyway, and we did use all our softs. But I was always going to pick a medium to hard strategy for myself personally. But I guess maybe tyre wear might not be a concern. But after last episode on the hard compound, the undercut we got around Hungary, I'm kind of going back to, I think we need to start using the hard tyre way more often and earlier maybe in these races, because it really worked for us. There's a small bit of recovery work our teammate has to do at the sharp end in order to fight Max Verstappen, but for us, there's a huge task from the back of the grid as we go to 5 red lights for the Belgian Grand Prix. We're underway. It's a slow one for Bottas. It's going to get a bit too tight for us as we have to step out of the throttle pedal. Meanwhile, up ahead, it's full throttle for the 3 cars. They're 3 abreast into turn 1. The 2 Red Bulls and the Ferrari. We just nearly got decked into the wall by Bottas there, as it's still going on at the front. 3 wide, up through Rouge, up Radion. Incredible. Sergio Perez trying to ruin the party for his teammate. He's looking to get the lead. Sainz is still also trying to make something happen. It's going to be 3 wide again. It's very hard to tell who's ahead from this camera angle. No, they're neck and neck. Sainz backs out of it. Lando now engages in the fight and tries to get up to 3rd place, a crucial 3rd place, so that he can go chase after Verstappen maybe. But it's Verstappen who leads then. After all of that, he's fended off Perez as we now have a go at repassing, well, just 1 car simply to get up to P19 is, I probably made the wrong choice going to the inside. I'm not blaming Bottas, to be honest, because I just pinched myself in. It was definitely the wrong call to go on the inside, and you kind of forget how slow some of these slower cars are, really, because that start, oh my, it's actually a miracle we've not lost our front wing yet on Sargent on the race start. Just then with Bottas, we get a warning for collision. We're going to try and just force our way through at this point, because I'm just getting stuck behind these guys, but I still actually don't know how we've not got damage on Bottas's rear end there. The front wings seem to be very, very indestructible on this year's game, because we do, I can confirm I've had simulation damage on the entire time. So just very, very lucky, I guess, or the game's a bit more lenient, I suppose, as we watch back the fight with the Red Bulls. And now the second time of asking on lap 2, Sergio Perez does get into the lead of the Grand Prix. Thank God we finished off our rivalry with him, because right now he'd be absolutely whooping us in this race so far, but we're hoping to change the order as we make up positions eventually. We get Magnussen on the straight. We're closing up to Albon, having a little look to the inside, but instead opting for the outside line. Bit more room there, although I thought so, because Albon nearly shut the door on us there. Very feisty Alexander Albon in the Williams, and I think I mentioned last episode we were fighting him so much at the start of the career, so I guess once he sees us on track again, he just wants some. He wants a scrap as we now close up to Tsunoda and Hulkenberg, and it's all quite close together, you can see on the minimap, up until another one of the kick Saubers, which will be Joe Granu, of course, as we've already passed Bottas. Tsunoda goes quite defensive actually there, so he just opens up the room for me to go thank you very much on the left hand side, and we get up into P15. Once we get past Joe, then it'll be interesting to see how quickly we could maybe, I'm hoping, catch the pack ahead, because there have been a few races where it's been nigh on impossible to catch a pack no matter how quick you are. As we now focus on our teammate up ahead, climbing the famous hill here at Spa, he has got the pace to close up to the pack of the two Red Bulls, and it's going to be maybe the double pass. Is it going to be the fairy tale overtake here for P1? This would be mega for Lando to get into the lead. He's already done Sergio Perez. He's now fighting Verstappen, and he's got him. He's up into first place, and that is a direct important championship fight as we try and find ourselves around the outside of Nico Hülkenberg. This is going to be a very impressive one. We can pull that off and now try and get around the outside of Gasly, but the front end just doesn't bite. But that was a very unorthodox place to attempt an overtake at Hülkenberg, and we kind of semi-made it work down the hill, I guess. And now we're looking to try and pass both of the Alpines. I'm really getting a little bit frustrated now behind Gasly, as we should have maybe done the overtake already one section ago. Can we make a dive here? Very close. Gasly, to be fair, does get spooked off the road a little bit, and we are now free to engage in chasing after Ocon and Zhou Guanyu, and neither of them using much battery apparently up the hill, because we really catapulted ourselves towards them. And now Lando made a double pass. We've just made a double pass in a bit of a mirror as we went to the left, and just like that, just like with him, we had to fight someone into the next corner, but we do get that done, and we're 2 positions higher, now up to P11 in free air. But we now focus back on the top fight, and I assume off screen, whilst we were busy making our own overtakes, Verstappen had got back into the lead of the Grand Prix, but almost immediately here, as we cut back to this action, oh, what on earth was that? That was a bit of carbon fibre being kicked up. Looks like that Red Bull is running real low to the ground, or is something just broken on Verstappen's car as Lando repasses him? But that was definitely like that looked like a bit of debris or something that got kicked up, and it was a similar sort of thing that happened when Verstappen made contact with Hamilton, if you remember, in the British Grand Prix episode. So I wonder if that's something breaking on Max's car, because he looks a bit sheepish now. Lando firmly into the lead again as they go to the hill. Look at Perez! Perez going for the move! Oh! Round the outside, through Rouge, up Radion, and Perez is actually going to go through for second place. Sainz is trying to follow him in. Verstappen comes back at Lando. Lando fends off the inside, and all of a sudden, Perez might be going for P1. He has got P1. No! Lando comes back at him. Electric stuff. But Verstappen under massive pressure by Carlos Sainz now. I think something's wrong with this car. I think he's broken something. I didn't even know that was a thing in this game, but clearly. So he's locked up now. I'm convinced. I didn't even know that was a thing in this year's game, but something has broken on Verstappen's car. He's hit something on the ground or whatever, but that car does not look the same now since that puff of smoke and debris was kicked up, as Alonso now is going for the move. The Aston Martin could push down the championship leader to P5. The Red Bull's going to fight this as much as he can, and all the way up the hill they'll go. Hamilton closely following behind, so it could be a 3-way fight between the world champions here. Hamilton gets blocked off on the left. Alonso with DRS open on the middle ground, and he's, I think, fully got ahead of Verstappen at this point. No, Max is still going for it. That camera angle is so deceiving, but eventually he twitches away, and he has to accept that he has been defeated there, and he is all of a sudden, he's gone from P1 to P5 in less than a lap. So 100% I'm convinced that something broke on his car as we finally catch up to Ricciardo. It took a few laps, to be honest, but thank God that we actually were able to catch this pack, because, to be honest, this entire pack has been, in a DRS train or ERS train of sorts. But we found some pace. It was a slow grind, but we got there, and now we've overtaken Ricciardo for the first time. We're into the points-paying positions in this race. And next up, our sights are on Leclerc on the soft compound of tyre inside the top 10. Interesting choice from the Ferrari. Surely he's feeling some tyre wear. It would seem so, because he seems pretty slow and is now not hanging on the back of Russell as we go for an identical move to the one we made on Albon. Now on Leclerc. Leclerc gives us a bit more room to work with, and we equally give him room to work with, because he's giving us a good old fight here to stay ahead. We're going to tuck in and try and get the slipstream going through to the bus stop chicane, but Russell's leaving us a bit. We kind of need to get this move over and done with so that we don't lose sight of the pack ahead, but Leclerc seems to be doing all he can to defend, maybe helping out Carlos Sainz, you know, up ahead. Maybe he feels like we're going to be a threat to his teammate later on, or he's just trying to fight for his own dignity here at the bottom of the top 10 as we look to make the move on the outside. We did a bit of a fake into the chicane, but Leclerc is still there, and that Ferrari has the pace in acceleration terms. I'm trying not to overuse the battery as well at the same time, because that's why we're not just blitzing him with overtake mode, because if I do that, I then won't have battery to get away from him and catch Russell ahead, as we're still going to be at it neck and neck into Eau Rouge. Unbelievable racing, real great respect between myself and Charles the entire time, but we've overtaken him. They're going to come back at us though, and this is what even with saving battery, I've now overused it a bit into Eau Rouge, and we had to do a bit of defending as even Ricciardo tried to overtake us, and Ricciardo will actually overtake Leclerc. That's going to be a bit of a frustration there for the Ferrari driver, but for us, we have pushed away. Ricciardo will act as a bit of a buffer to allow us to just push away and focus on chasing the pack ahead, but Verstappen's coming in and we followed him in. I wasn't planning to come in on this lap, but I just saw at the last minute Verstappen peeling into the pit, and I thought, let's cover him off and maybe see if we can help out our teammate in his fight with Verstappen, because, well, to be fair to one, we're going to get another undercut on hard tyres, and we just know how well that worked around the Hungaroring. But yeah, I reckon we could actually do some work there, because clearly Verstappen is not very quick right now. He was down to P5. I don't know if he was even lower than that, but, you know, when he came in. So he's got some sort of car issue, and maybe we can attack him. Like, he's not even that far down the road, and Sargent is going to do us a huge favour here. He's going as slow as ever on his worn soft tyres, and he's invited us well within half a second to the Red Bull. So all of a sudden, this decision to pit on the same lap as Max is a blinder. I can absolutely cover him off, but at the same time, this just helps us in our race, because it's not even, to be fair, just about, you know, helping our teammate out. If we overtake Max, that's just one more position in this race, and one more position up into the top 10 positions, basically. And let's see in the pit stops now who we could maybe jump with the undercut, because I reckon we could, you know, because Leclerc's there behind us, but Hamilton might be behind us. Alonso might be behind us. Is that? No, Alonso comes through, but we have jumped Hamilton at least. So that's one position already in this undercut we've got. And now, as we climb up the hill, we're going to use battery halfway up the hill, because Verstappen starts recharging in the middle of that. So we're going to fly past the Dutchman, and it'll be 2 positions gained. Our engineer's worried about ERS, but for me, the main concern was getting past that Red Bull, and now we'll sort it out. Oh my God, no! What is going on there? What has happened? Sargent locked up. I think Perez locked up as well. A collision warning for Sargent, and an illegal overtake for Sargent. Are you kidding me? Come on! I mean, my life flashed before my eyes. We did very well to stamp on the brake pedal and stop ourselves just going straight into the back of the American. That could have been a DNF, game over. We're still in the game. We're still ahead of Hamilton, but now we've conceded position to not only Verstappen, but, well, Sargent as well. So Sargent giveth and Sargent taketh away, because he did help us out by holding up Verstappen, but now he's just completely undone all of that hard work, as we see Lando Norris chasing after his old pal Sainz, but a puff of smoke comes out the McLaren, and could it be game over? I think it is. No! What is going on in this race? It was going so well. Lando was in the fight for the lead. We were gaining positions and recovering this race, and now it is coming undone.
It's broken! Anti-stall!
That is Lando out of the Belgian Grand Prix as we defend Hamilton. Perez locking up. It is all kicking off in this Grand Prix. It really has. Perez with the lock up there. Maybe he's got some sort of problem, because, to be fair, he caused that whole situation with Sargent and myself, because he was the one who locked up as we go straight on. Now, you might think I've lost my mind, but I was actually... I maybe overthought this a bit. I thought I could use Hamilton to pull me along with DRS to catch Perez, but I didn't bank on Stroll coming out the pit straight away, and actually Lewis being incredibly slow up the hill, to the point where I'm being boxed in by the guy I just let by on purpose to drag me along with DRS. So instead, I re-engage my brain and go, look, I'm going to have to do it myself. So we just re-overtake both of them, basically. And now I'll just get my head down to catch after Perez. I think I try to be a bit too smart there with the whole let him by to pull me along. So I'm just going to have to get my head down and hope that we've got the pace. But let's have a look at this replay then. So watch where Sergio Perez is, because he locks up and that makes Sargent lock up, and they in unison... They in unison come back on circuit, all lined up together. That's where we were with that puff of smoke coming back on circuit, but that's the view from Verstappen. Verstappen, he just got the easiest triple overtake done in the known universe. That is so frustrating. And now, after all of that, he's the one that leads the race. He leads ahead of Alonso, Sainz, Russell, Perez, and myself trying to chase after Perez, but instead, I'm actually looking backwards because as we lock the rear end, Leclerc has set the fast lap of the Grand Prix. Of course, he sets purple, and that's when I make a rear locking mistake. So Leclerc comes back to haunt us, and he basically does the reverse to us, trying to go round the outside of us, through Rouge, up Radion, and the Ferrari, well, he's just got a bit too much pace. I don't want to overuse the battery, so I stay in medium, and I kind of accept he's overtaken us, and I'm going to try and hopefully just re-engage him and repass him on the next lap, you know, with the load of battery I'm saving on the bottom right. You know, engine temperatures are good, tyres are good, and I know I'm on a tyre that I like, so I just thought, let's play the patient game with Leclerc. He's on medium, so to be fair, out of anyone, he actually could be a good car to use for DRS to pull us along, because he will be quicker than everyone ahead. So that's the game plan, just kind of like you would in real life, not putting up too much of a fight when you don't need to, knowing that there's a longer term play here. So that's the thinking there of not putting up a massive fight versus Leclerc. So about 2 laps later then, as we nearly go on to lap 16, the plan's working. Look at the mini-map. We are now a part of a DRS train all the way up to P1. So we're in this fight, 7 laps to go. No! The gearbox.
We're looking at some imminent gearbox issues, I'm afraid.
Oh, please just tell me that's a temporary... No, it's not a temporary issue. I thought Mark was going to tell us about a jammed gear. I could have lived with that. I could have lived with missing a gear or something. But no, the whole gearbox is seized up. Oh my God, what a terrible race for McLaren. Oh, this is shocking. I actually forgot for a sec Lando retired. It's a double DNF for the team. What a horrible first ever debut at the new Spa track on F124. This has been absolutely awful. We're out. That's it. Game over. Pack up the bags. Oh.
A difficult race then on one of the all-time classic circuits, but they persevered to take the win here today.
And this really is, as we know, Crofty, a team game. And a performance from the driver like this today gives the team energy moving forwards. It's closely fought in the Constructors' Championship, and this will go a long way to boosting that energy as we move forward.
And just like in real life at the Canadian Grand Prix just gone, after all of that chaos, Max Verstappen wins the race. Of course, the guy is just too good, he's too consistent, and things just come to him. Wow. Double DNF. Really bad day for the team. Bad day for Lando. Obviously loses a lot of ground in the championship. That's a whole 25 points off the table. For us as well, it was going to be a really great recovery drive. You know, even with Lando's DNF, would have been a great drive for us, but we didn't get a chance to put that into action. I truly believe with that plan of letting Leclerc by, it worked. We were right there, and we could have fought for maybe the win if we were lucky enough. I don't know, but instead, we've gone down in overall rating because we actually went up to 79 with the qualifying, but we've gone back down to 78 because we've lost some stats and everything pretty much apart from racecraft, and it's a race to forget absolutely for both of our drivers. At least the only positive is I matched all my specialist goals, but we went from the lofty heights of that amazing win in Hungary to a double DNF low. That is how cruel Formula 1 can be. It's a cruel mistress. But guys, if you have enjoyed the episode nonetheless, then be sure to hit the like button. Let me know what you thought in the comments below. If you're around here, then do get subscribed for weekly Formula 1 content. I'll see you guys next time. Goodbye.